It's a Heidel minicast. And now, Scott Clark.
We're on page 163, or at least that's where our reading begins today, as we continue reading in Machen's Christianity and Liberalism as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of this important volume. And Machen is talking about who may or may not be a minister in a confessional Presbyterian church.
If the Heidelcast helps you, won't you help us keep it going? Please make the coffer clink by clicking on the PayPal link or by sending a check to Heidelberg Reformation Association, 1637 East Valley Parkway, number 391, Escondido, California, 92027.
Machen wrote, "If a man can stand on that platform, he may be an officer in the Presbyterian Church. If he cannot stand on it, he has no right to be an officer in the Presbyterian Church." And the case is no doubt essentially similar in other evangelical churches. Whether we like it or not, these churches are founded upon a creed. They are organized for the propagation of a message. If a man desires to combat that message instead of propagating it, he has no right, no matter how false the message may be, to gain a vantage ground for combating it by making a declaration of his faith, which, be it plainly spoken, is not true. But if such a course of action is wrong, another course of action is perfectly open to the man who desires to propagate, quote, liberal Christianity, close quote. Finding the existing evangelical churches to be bound up to a creed which he does not accept, he may either unite himself with some other existing body or found a new body to suit himself. There are, of course, certain obvious disadvantages in such a course: the abandonment of church buildings to which one is attached, the break in family traditions, the injury to sentiment of various kinds. But there is one supreme advantage which far overbalances all such disadvantages. It is the advantage of honesty. The path of honesty in such matters may be rough and thorny, but it can be trod. And it has already been trod, for example, by the Unitarian Church. The Unitarian Church is frankly and honestly just the kind of church that the liberal preacher desires, namely a church without an authoritative Bible, without doctrinal requirements, and without a creed. Honesty, despite all that can be said and done, is not a trifle, but one of the weightier matters of the law. Certainly, it has a value of its own, a value quite independent of consequences. But the consequences of honesty would, in the case now under discussion, not be unsatisfactory. Here, as elsewhere, honesty would probably prove to be the best policy. By withdrawing from the confessional churches, those churches that are founded upon a creed derived from Scripture, the liberal preacher would indeed sacrifice the opportunity, almost within his grasp, of so obtaining control of those confessional churches as to change their fundamental character. The sacrifice of that opportunity would mean that the hope of turning the resources of the evangelical churches into the propagation of liberalism would be gone. But liberalism would certainly not suffer in the end. There would, at least, be no more need of using equivocal language, no more need of avoiding offense. The liberal preacher would obtain the full personal respect even of his opponents, and the whole discussion would be placed on a higher ground. All would be perfectly straightforward and above board. And if liberalism is true, the mere loss of physical resources would not prevent it from making its way.
Brought to you by Heidelberg Reformation Association.org. Don't forget, when the coin in the coffer clinks, the cost of bandwidth shrinks. Copyright Heidelberg Reformation Association. All rights reserved. This is a Heidel Media production.